Okay, so as we have discussed earlier, see, whenever you are trying to create a page which is connected to some database, you will have two types of pages. One is a detailed page and one is a list page, right? So either I'm trying to display one page which has the details of the record, or I'm trying to display a page which has list of many records, right? So that's what we deal with. So we have been creating the detail pages, and detail page always requires the ID of the record. Detail page always requires the ID of the record. List page does not have that problem. Here you don't have to supply the ID. Right? It can show you the list of records. What list of record it will show, that completely depends on the controller that's written in the logic. So when I say list of records, is it going to show me 100 records, or is it just going to show me 10 records? And you know what is the criteria of the records which are shown on that particular page, that completely depends on the controller. All right, but the point is that this can be used for displaying list of records. So we have been working on the detail page. Now today we are going to create a list page, and for creating a list page we have another controller which is called standard list controller. So this is also the standard controller thing. It also does not have anything custom. So this is also where we are going to use the standard controller, and we are just going to leverage the logics, the standard logics. All right. Okay. So how do we create a page? So this is primarily creating a page that can display list of records, but through the standard controller. So how do you do that? Give me a moment, let me log in. Okay, so let me just go ahead and create a page. It's already there. Create another one. Okay, so for list control, for displaying list also, first thing that you have to do is you have to decide on which object you're talking about. Do you want to display a list of accounts or opportunities or cases? As I said, standard controller are specific to the objects, right? So you have to decide on which object you are talking about. So are you talking about the account object? Do you want to see the list of account records? If you want to see the list of account records, all that you have to do is you just have to define the standard controller equals account, and along with that, because I don't want to display a single record, I want to display a list. Along with that, I have to define one more attribute on the page component. Name of this attribute is record set var. Okay, so this is basically a variable for the list of records. Okay, and variable name can be anything. You can put ABCD, whatever you want. Okay. So what I've done, I have defined a standard controller. So I basically connected this page to a controller or to the object, account object controller. And I have also defined a variable which can hold the list of records from this object. Record set var. So variable to hold set of records. Okay. That's what we have done. Page block I'm creating, the usual stuff, list of accounts. Okay. Now since I'm talking about a list of records, I also need components which can hold list of records, right? So for displaying a list of record, what component will be apt? Something like a table, right? So if you want to display a list of records, you need a table. So there is a component called page block table. I'll create that component. So when you start defining the page block table, there are two attributes that you have to define in the page block table. One is value. In value, you define what set of data you want to display in the table. So the set of data that I want to display is this. The set of data that I want to display is this. I'm just gonna put it like so. This is the value, and then there is one more variable that you need to define here. Okay, this is the variable which will be used for this expression inside the table. The variable can be a. Now you can say apex column. So once we have created the table component, inside the table component, what do we need to do? We need to create the columns, right? Again, for each column, you have to define a value, and in that value, you have to say which field you want to put in the column. Okay, so see, standard controller is account. Try and see, how things are getting connected to each other. Standard controller is account object. Okay, ACTS is a variable which holds a list of records for accounts. Okay, so this basically holds list of records. That's what we have defined here. In the page block table value, I have said ACTS, which means this page block table will show the list of records from accounts. All right. Then I have defined a variable for this big expression. Okay, instead of this expression, I'm just gonna use this variable. Then I just go inside the table and I create the column. The first column that I created is for displaying the name of the account records. So let me just go ahead and click on save. Okay, so I have a table with one single column and it displays the account names. You want more columns, just go ahead and keep creating them. Apex column value equals a dot website. Apex column value equals a dot I. Column Okay, so here we have the data. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have created the columns. So it's that simple, displaying list of records. Now you don't need to supply the ID in the URL. You don't supply the ID, no, because it's anyhow displaying the list of records. Alright. So that's how we work with a standard list controller. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do one more example with another object to display the list of records. This time I'll take opportunity object. So the first part is pretty simple, similar to the previous standard controller. You just have to select the standard controller, opportunity. Then you have to define a variable for the list of opportunities and you can call it whatever you want. This is just a variable, you can name it whatever you want. I'm naming it ops. Now you just go ahead and create the page block. Something which we know. Whatever you want to put here, list of apex page block value page block table, sorry, value equals, what should I put here? Just type it in the chat window. What should be value equals? Just type it in the chat window.
Okay.
What should go inside this value page block table value? I want the full expression. Yep, right. So all of you guys are almost correct. Correct. Then we define a variable here. This variable is basically for this particular thing. Hope fix column value. Now you just need to define the o dot name or whatever other fields you want. Let's say amount, stage name. You have to make sure that you're using the correct field names. Okay. So you should go to the object and you can check the field name. Name, amount, stage name, let's say close date. There's another one called expected revenue. So these are all the fields in opportunity. I'm trying to display them. Okay. Can any one of you look into the error and let me know what is the error? What mistake I made?
Here near apex block table to delimiter you have used for end.
Correct. What is the problem now?
2 times apex page block you have handed.
There were two terminations of page block. Now it's fine. Okay, good. Yep, now it's showing data. All right. Okay. Now, um, before I get into doing a few more things on this list of records, please let me know if anyone has any question or doubt here so far. So your standard list controller by default displays 20 records on the page. Can we go and make it 100 records? No. It displays 20 records on the page, and that's something which is instructed in the uh, controller. So we cannot go and edit the controller there. So what you have to do is, in case you have more than 20 records, well, how do you, look into those records? How do you see the other set of records? So let's say in this case we have 40 records, for example. How will I look into the other 20 records? So in this standard controller or standard list controller, there is this option of pagination. Pagination means going into the next page and looking into the next set of records. Okay, but to go into the next set of records, what do we need? To go into the next set of records, what do we need? We need a command button or a command link. I have to give some command that go to the next page, right? So we need a command button or a command link. So before I can create a command button or a command link, I need one more component. What is the name of that component? What component I need before I can use command button or a command link? A form component.
Form.
I have to make sure that my command button or command link is inside the form component. Safer side, I'm just putting it right after the page block, right after the page component. Okay, and I can put the command button here, apex command button. Okay, value will be anything like next page. The value is what will be displayed on the button, right? Action is going to be next. So there are four predefined actions: next, previous, first, and last. Next, previous, first, and last. There are these four predefined actions which basically work only with standard list controller. You won't have these things available with standard controller, and it is not even required there. Okay, so with standard list controller you find these four actions and you can use them. Next is an action which will take you to the next page or the next set of records. Previous will take you to the previous set of records. First will take you to the first page in case there are multiple pages, and last will take you to the last page. So these four default actions are there. So let me say next. Let me use a command link also here. First page action equals first. Command button value previous page. is link. Last page. So you just need to go and define these actions. Next should come after previous. Right. Okay. So I've created two buttons and two links just to show you how a link or button will work. So they work same ways, but only that the link looks a little different from the button. And if you saw, the attributes are also same: value, action. Okay. Right. So the moment you click on next page, the moment you click on the next page, it shows you the next set of records. Right. Go to previous page. It's going to show you the previous set of records. Okay. If you say last page, in this case we just have two pages. We just have close to 35 records, I guess. So it's just as two pages. But imagine if you have 150 records, then it will have 7 pages. So you can just quickly jump into the last. You can jump into the first. Okay, so that's what the pagination will do here. This is basically called pagination in standard list controller. All right, so you don't have to do anything. You already have these predefined next, previous, last and first actions defined. You just have to call them. All right, so this ways, the good thing about this page is that it displays only 20 records, and that way any page is not big, not becoming very bulky also, and you have the option of doing pagination to look into the other set of records. So that's how it is. Right? Okay. So while I'm displaying these buttons here, there's a quick thing that I would want to tell you. There is another component called a page block button. Page block button. Okay. If you put these buttons inside the page block buttons, if you put the buttons and links inside this, page block needs to be closed after the page block button. Okay. Now let me know what change do you notice in this page as compared to the previous one. What is the change that you're noticing on this page? What did the page block button do? Do you notice any change on the
Uh,
page as compared to the previous one?
but
Yeah,
yeah, displays on the top and the bottom, the buttons and the links.
at the top and the bottom.
The
Right.
buttons are moved to the page block.
Yes. So to the corners of the page block, start of the page block, end of the page block. Correct? So if you have a page block and you're displaying some content inside the page block, and if you create a button and say put it inside a page block button, it the button is displayed at the start of the page block and at the end of the page block. This is a common thing in Salesforce pages. If you see, click on any record, you would see that a lot of times you have the button at the top and bottom. See, okay. So sometimes it may be useful for you to have this page block button in case you have a longer list of records, or you have one single record with which is very lengthy. So you want the end user to scroll down and click on the button. So if you just have the button at the top, then what will happen? Every time the user will have to come to the top. So that's it, just for that advantage. So this page block button basically brings in both at top and bottom. If you just don't want the button to be at the bottom, you have an option. In the page block buttons, you have an attribute called location. So in the location, you have the option of defining top. If you don't define any attribute, then it will show at top as well as bottom. If you just say top, then you will see the buttons only at the top. So it appears in the top, but nothing at the bottom. Same way, you have the option of defining location at the bottom. So you have that choice, right? So this is how a page block button works. So basically, does not add too much into the functionality part, but it is something good for from the user interface perspective or the user experience. So it's a long list of records or fields. Then the user can click either at the top of the record or bottom of the record. So he does not have to scroll down just to click on the record. Right. So that's how a page block button works. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is on a list of records. So we have seen how to display list of records. We have seen how to do the pagination with it, and we have also seen how to basically display the buttons, the top and bottom of the list. This page block button will work fine with standard controller, a normal standard controller as well. There's no problem. Wherever you are using a button and you have a page block, you can put the page block button there. Okay. Now, using input components in the list. How do I include the input components in the list? While I'm displaying the list of records, what if I want an input component to be available there? How do we do that? So that's what we're going to look into right now. I'll go to the previous page. Go to the account list. All right. Let's say what I want here is I just want this phone field to be like an input field. Currently, all the fields are read only. Whatever data it is displaying through the column, everything is read only, correct? I want the phone field to be editable, or more like an input field kind of a thing, where I can make changes, I can enter the value. Like right now I'm not able to enter the value for these records. I want to do that. Okay, how would I do that? It's going to be simple. All that you have to do is, see, we have to understand that for phone we need to use an input field component. Okay, what is the component that we use to make the to bring in the input field? There's an apex input field component, correct? But currently the field value, the phone value, is inside a column component, and I need to put it inside the input field component. How am I gonna achieve that? If I remove the column component, then this column attribute, column functionality will be gone. I want this in the column as well as that input field thing. So it's very simple to do that. Because it's a page, because it's a page block table, the column has to be there. But I want to insert the component inside the column. So practically, all that you have to do is you just have to start the column component, end the column component, and inside the column component you should include the other component. Correct? Apex input field component, put the value, a dot phone. What we have done, we have inserted the input field component with value a dot phone inside the column. Okay, earlier what we did, we directly defined the value for the column. So in that case, it was not input field, it was just a read only information. Now I need an input field component here. So now this is how it's going to work. Okay, what is the error? What is the error? Anyone?
Form must be included.
Form component needs to be included. Fix form. Good. So we are done with this. Saved it. Now if you notice here, this column, the last one, has input fields here. Okay, so this kind of a situation where you want to enter a specific type of a component inside a column, don't have to worry about it at all. All that you need to do there is you just need to go and start the column component, close the column component, and inside the column component you just have to go ahead and put the other component like input field or any other component that you want to bring in here. Okay, for example, this account name. Right now these websites are links, right? Let's say I want to convert the account name to links. Guys, are you able to see my screen? Everyone able to see the screen? Okay, great. Uh, Fine. So on the same lines, let's say if I want to make this uh, as links, the account name. Okay, the way these websites are appearing as links, I want to make the names also as links. What do I need to do there? All that you have to do is you just have to go to this column, start the column component, and then close it, and between the column component include fx command name value name. See, I've converted all these things into links. Click on any record, nothing will happen as of now, don't worry, because you have not defined the action part. But it's just for you to understand, how you are going to deal with these components, right? How to perform action on clicking on that link, that's a thing which we will do later. So, got it? So, whenever you want to enter a specific kind of a value, component inside the column, this is what you have to do. You have to start the column, close the column, and within the column component, you have to put the other component. Now, do you notice a small change on the page when you use this kind of a thing? When start column and then put another component inside the column, the header, the by default header which was coming, which has come in these three fields or these three columns, is not appearing in these two. Okay, so the default header which was coming is from the value attribute of that column component. Header basically comes from the value attribute of the column component. Okay, so we have the value attribute, so it by default picks the header from this component, but in this case there is no value attribute, so it's not able to figure out what should be the value displayed on it. The same case is with this one. There is no attribute in the column component, hence it does not know what to display on the header. Okay, so now how do I deal with that? Because currently it's not displaying any header, right? So we don't have to worry. If it is not automatically picking the header, then you have an attribute in the column component which is called header value. Okay, and here you can define whatever value you want. Name. In this column also you can do the same. Let's say header value. What is this? There's a phone number. So here you have the option of defining the header value as whatever you want. So see, again your columns have got the header values, right? Now let me know if anyone has any question or doubt here.